Welcome to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast for club owners, operators, and fitness professionals. Each week, host Bryan O'Rourke brings you an expert interview with a global influencer at the crossroads of fitness and technology. You gain the insights, tools, and inspiration you need to stay connected to the pulse for what matters most for your business in the age of exponential technologies.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to podcast 138 of the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. I am your host, Bryan O'Rourke, and before we get started with our interview of Jason Stowell, I wanted to extend our best wishes for a very happy and merry holiday season ahead. It's been a rough couple of years, and hopefully 2023 will be better than ever. Special thanks go to our many sponsors of both FITSE, the Fitness Industry Technology Council, and this podcast. Without you, this is not possible. I also ask you to please check in the show notes. We have our annual Innovation Awards for FITSE coming up. So if you are or know of a fitness professional, supplier, or operator that deserves recognition for their accomplishments in applying technology to innovate, we would really appreciate you taking a minute and letting us know about them. Jason Stowell. So I followed Jason for a while. Of course, he participates in a number of events and is known by a number of people across the industry space. His focus right now is with the JCCs. He's out of Buffalo, New York, where he serves in a variety of roles, but his background includes, well-known chains like LA Fitness Powerhouse and others. It's interesting on his LinkedIn profile, which is in the show notes, he is quoting in his profile that the relationships that we have should be transformational and not transactional. And that speaks a lot to the man and his philosophy. So with Jason today, we're going to talk about pricing, competing, technology, a number of different subjects. I enjoyed listening to him and his panel in Chicago, so we're going to touch on some of those different events or topics that he covered during the club industry event and other things. So without further ado, let's welcome Jason to the podcast. Well, listeners, as I said in the intro, Jason Stowell. Jason, I was able to say hi to you and listen to you speak on stage at Club Industry, and of course, we share a number of professional colleagues and relationships, and your background in fitness is fantastic and interesting. So I know the listeners are going to enjoy this. Thanks for joining us from snowy Buffalo this morning.
Thank you for that. It's an honor to be here, Bryan. I've been an enormous fan of yours for many, many years.
And by the way, folks, thank you, Jason. And by the way, we're going to have a link to Jason's time at the mic on his podcast, so that if you want to check it out, please do. As I said in the intro about Jason's background, and now his work focused on JCCs and other things. We were just chatting in advance of our recording here about a number of things, including the historic snowfall in Buffalo. But we really wanted to start out talking a little bit about technology and in the realm of things like personal training in the bricks and mortar fitness space. Jason, you have your hands around a lot of aspects of operations and service delivery. What are your observations about tech's impact on that kind of trainer experience right now for both the member and the trainer?
What an incredibly important conversation to have right now. So, I like to consider myself. So I've worked with seniors as a personal trainer for most of my life. So I'm only 45, so I'm hyper aware of how young I am. But I've been in personal training for 20 plus years. And what's fascinating, as we've seen, is back in the 90s, you would go to your big box gym, and your workout would be limited to what you could do there: the treadmill, the gym classes, maybe a pool. But in today's world, health and wellness is now this portfolio approach, right? You have your watch for tracking your steps, you have your app for tracking your calories, you have your big box gym for your cardiovascular activity, and you have a boutique studio for your boxing, right? And so trainers, in my mind, over the last few years, have kind of shifted from being coaches, if you will, to really consultants, because people we know when people come to us, they're looking for solutions. They're not looking for workouts. Nobody wants to buy a workout. They want to buy a solution to their problem. And so when they go to their personal trainer, they might only have access, say, 2 or 3 hours a week with that trainer, but they expect the trainer to tell them how much to eat, how much to walk, how much sleep they should be getting, water. And so because of this access to data now with these apps and these watches, the trainer has really kind of moved into this lifestyle coach, if you will, and it's fascinating.
It is, isn't it? And do you think that is a, I was just in Portugal talking about this. I've been talking about it for a few years. I know you have too. Speaking of age, is that general notion that the population's getting older, and so wherein people may have approached, and there's still younger people that approach fitness services in a certain way, but as people mature, health becomes a bigger dynamic, right?
Yeah, I joke about this that when we're in our 20s and even our 30s, maybe into our 40s, it's all about narcissism, right? I just want to look good naked. But then you get in your 50s and 60s, and some of your friends who have made poor lifestyle choices are starting to degrade and you erode, and you start looking like, oh God, I am mortal. I am gonna have some challenges. And so your shift from narcissistic activities into sustainable, healthy lifestyle is fascinating. It's almost right at that mid 40s, 50s mark where there's this shift from, how big can I get my biceps to how long can I continue to walk the stairs. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and you've heard, and I agree with you, and we've heard over many years, Jason, I know you know this, about the boomer market and the,